Thank you.
Okay, we are online now.
All right, let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, my friends. Welcome to 2022 ABF Online Talk, Passion for Birding. How are you, my friends? It's been raining in Taiwan for a week. It's a bit cooler, not too bad. Today, our old friend Paul Veenvliet is going to share the birding of the beaten path in Slovenia. Slovenia, wow, it must be interesting. And Paul is a Dutch. He grew up in Netherlands and he has a university background of biology. So he's a biologist specialized in animal ecology and herpetology. Wait, what's herpetology? Paul told me that it's a study of amphibian and reptile. Right. I learned some new words. Now he's an animal and plant illustrator and an eco guide. And he lives in Slovenia now with his beautiful family. We met his lovely boy, Lars, several times. So where is Slovenia? We will let Paul tell us. So, okay, Paul, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. Thank you very much, Victor.
The floor is yours now.
I'm going to share the screen and just start with the presentation.
Right.
Let's see if it still works. So, I hope that you have now the correct first start picture.
Excellent. Yes.
Perfect. Hello, welcome everyone. Thanks, Victor, Mike. I don't see Andrew yet. Is he going to come?
Probably later.
Okay. He will probably watch it another time. Also, thanks to Maya behind the screens. Today I will give a very brief presentation about nature, about birds, and about Slovenia, the country where I'm right now. And I'm very honored that you're all here to listen to me. Can you please tell if you can hear me now correct? Am I audible? Okay.
We can hear you.
We can hear you.
Perfect. It's important to check. Well, I think start with Slovenia. It's a very small country. You see the red dot on the map here. Slovenia is about 20,000 square kilometer big. That is a little bit more than half of Taiwan, or almost exactly half of the Netherlands. It has only 2 million inhabitants, which is about 100 people per square kilometer if they would be spread evenly. And that's a lot less than most countries of the world. In fact, it's fairly similar to Cambodia. Slovenia has a very rich cultural heritage. Everywhere you will see castles. Some are nicely restored, like this one. Others are beautiful, very romantic ruins. And these castles are actually the police stations and also tax offices of the distant past. But you will find this kind of things everywhere. The country is so small that you need only 2 to 3 hours by car from one end to the other. So you could visit many of these places from a single staying place. That makes it a very convenient place to go to. My Slovenia is a very wide space. It is full of forests and natural landscapes. So I'm not going to tell you so much about the culture right now. And of course, there are birds here. There are officially 385 bird species found here. And of these, there are 222 nesting species. In springtime, if you have a very good bird watching week, you can see about or a little bit over 100 species in a week. to put it in a bit of international perspective. I'm Paul. I'm a biologist. I'm basically a naturalist. Occasionally, I'm a tour guide. And I participated twice in the Asian bird fairs. And I'm very honored that I could be your guest there. And this actually changed my entire world. And this presentation now is a way to say thank you for that. I'm going to tell you something, show you something of the diversity of this very small country, Slovenia, of a diversity of habitats. So I will take you on a virtual tour around the different places that you could see here. I start with forests. In Slovenia, there is forest everywhere. About 2/3 of the country is covered with forests. These forests are like a home to me. I really like the quiet atmosphere, the clean air, the shade in the forest. Mostly, I meet nobody here. I'm all alone, so I'm really here enjoying nature off the beaten track. It's not so easy to see the forest birds, but it helps to move quietly and to pay attention to the sounds. And in my presentation, I'm not going to mention each and every species. I rather just enjoy, like in nature, just as they appear. Some birds are easier to see than others because they may perch on high branches. And when you're in the forest, you have to pay attention to other animals too. Many of them are actually very shy and they leave only footprints. This one I see every day. This one just sometimes. You see the small guy underneath? But it's not only the birds and the big mammals to pay attention to. Sometimes it's also the small animals which are interesting. Like this one. Or this salamander, which is said to be so cold that even the fire cannot harm him. After the forest, we come to meadows. It's a very different place, with sunshine and warmth all around us, skylarks singing overhead, buzzing insects and colorful flowers, and everywhere there are butterflies. It's also a place which changes very suddenly. Each plant has a very short flowering season of only a few weeks. And by June, so by now, landowners start mowing these meadows, which means that from one day to the next, they look entirely different. This is an excellent place for a picnic, if possible, with local traditional food. Meadows are a nice, happy place. Although some plants hide something behind a happy smile. Bee orchids might look happy to us, but for a specific solitary bee species, they look, feel, and even smell like a female bee. Males of this bee species try to mate with the flower, with one flower after another. And while the male bees are getting a bit disappointed, they carry the pollen of the flowers on their back and they fertilize not female bees, but the flowers. There are karst lakes here. Lake Ternitsa looks like a very inviting place to go swimming. At least it looks like that on a map. But in summer, the lake is often dry, and in some places, like here, it smells like rotten fish. Lake Ternitsa is a magical karst lake with a very strongly fluctuating water level. In spring and autumn, after heavy rain, water bursts out of karst springs at the edge of the lake. And in only 3 or 4 days, the entire lake fills up. Then Lake Ternitsa becomes the largest lake in Slovenia, with over 26 or sometimes even over 30 square kilometers of water. Then, mostly outside of the tourist season, it becomes a fantastic place for water birds. Caves. The reason why Lake Ternitsa is disappearing, at least the water is disappearing, is hidden underground. And rainwater is slowly dissolving the karst underground, which is limestone rock. And it creates a network of channels through which the water can disappear. Sometimes it becomes visible, like here in this broken off piece of rock. And where there's limestone, there are caves. In fact, this small country Slovenia has more than 14,000 caves, and every year several hundreds are discovered. There are no birds in the caves, but a trip to Slovenia would not be complete without visiting at least one of these caves. The animals in a cave are mostly very small, and you have to really pay attention to find them. Like this small millipede, which is about 2 centimeters big only. Some animals come into the caves to hibernate, and sometimes they don't survive. Like this moth that was killed by a moth-killing fungus. In the past, much larger animals also came to the caves to hibernate, and also they sometimes died here. You can still find their remains underground in Slovenia. The largest cave animal nowadays is this one, the olm. It's a virtually blind cave salamander which grows to up about 40 centimeters big. They can live to over a century, or maybe even a lot longer, because nobody researched them long enough to really know. And nobody has seen one dying of old age. This limestone karst landscape is also above ground very interesting. It's a tough and rocky place, exposed to hot sunshine and thunderstorms. It's green and lushly vegetated in spring, quite dry in summer, and there's often a bitter cold wind, the buria. Vultures don't breed in Slovenia, but they do regularly visit the Slovenian karst. And for turtle doves, European turtle doves, the karst is a stronghold. In much of Europe, they have declined a lot in the last decades, and here it's still possible to find them in the original numbers. Mountains. If you go to the north of Slovenia, there are mountains. The tallest is Mount Triglav, which has 2,864 meters. I've written that one down. It's a symbol of the country. And on clear days, you can see Mount Triglav throughout much of the country. Slovenians tell that their home lies underneath Mount Triglav. A special season is the very early spring, depending on altitude, March, April, when after winter, after the snow melts, suddenly nature comes alive and there are fantastic flowers everywhere. That takes about 2 weeks and then it's all over. In summer, there are other flowers. And by the end of our small tour, we can go to the seaside. There's only a short coastline in Slovenia, 40 kilometers long. And here we can also watch some birds, of course. One of the best places for birds watching is this one. It's a small coastal nature reserve called Kosianski Zatok. Access here is restricted to just a single circular path in order to not disturb the birds, which are basically all around you. Alongside the path there are many bird watching heights, and even this very big bird watching tower with an excellent view of the area and often very good views of birds as well. Actually, we're already at the end. I have to thank the Asian Bird Fair for this opportunity to briefly present a very small country, Slovenia. Thanks to Jana as well. She was there when most of these photos were made, and actually some of the photos are hers as well. And you can find me, if you want, through the website. And actually, that is it. I'm very fast. Please tell if you have any questions.
Thank you very much, Paul. Thank you. It's short, but beautiful, you know, with beautiful landscape, beautiful birds. Very nice, very beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing the beautiful country with us. Okay, guys, if you have any question, just speak.
There's something in the chat.
Right. First question.
How many days would you suggest for a trip?
Yeah.
Well, of course, it depends on your interests, but in general, I would suggest about 1 week.
I mean, it's only birding, or you know, it includes cultural visit and many other things.
Well, it depends, of course, on your interest. If it's to include only birding, or if you want to visit some culture, want to visit the capital city. There are definitely some very interesting cultural sites. In general, it depends on your interest. But if you combine 2 or 3 days, more cultural days, and 3 or 4 days with bird watching, visiting nature, then you actually have a very good impression of the country. Slovenia is a kind of country that is quite quick to get an impression of different habitat, different landscapes, and to go around. But nature is surprising you every day, and it continues to do so for years. So even after many years, you go around and you still have a little surprise in nature every day. So you can also stay here like many years. But for generally for getting to know the country, a week is a good start.
So, yeah, Philip also wants to know: do we stay in one hotel or in different hotels?
You can stay in one place, or some people stay in two places. But it's also something quite many people do, is to stay for some days in the mountains and have a mountain hiking tour for a few days, and then move more to the southern part of the country, and from there make day trips to different corners, or also make day trips just over the border.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Johnny. We haven't seen you for a long time. Welcome back,
Yeah,
Johnny.
I've been in the field. Even right now, I haven't gotten home. I'm still in the bush. Hello, comrade. Yeah, I thank you, Paul, for the presentation. I'm wondering, on top of the birding, do you have any other game that people can go to see adding on the cultural tour, so that the days can be more than a week, or everything is done in 1 week? Thank you.
You can extend it as much as you want. Bird watching is in general the best in May. Now in June, it's very good for flowers and butterflies. Many people will be interested to see larger animals, larger mammals as well. Roe deer are very easy. Foxes are very easy. But the really larger animals, like red deer, like bears, are very shy and very difficult to see just like that. There are quite many specialists now offering bear watching from heights, which means that you go to a small height where there's a feeding place in the middle of the forest. You sit very quietly for 2 or 3 hours, and you have a very good chance to see brown bears. So yes, that is possible. It's not like a big safari that you see many different species of large mammals. So, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, thank you very much. You've answered my question, and maybe it will be planning for a birding trip.
Okay.
You mentioned if you stay in a high, then you might see the bear. But
yes.
What about the height? You know, is it a man-made height, or is a natural height?
No, it's actually the heights for bear watching. There are two types. One is one specifically for photographing, which is square height, like a small room put on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
The more traditional ones are actually the small heights that the hunters are using, where you have to climb up to a small wooden ladder and stay there. If you move too much, the whole hut moves.
Oh, okay.
Yes, but from both, you have actually a very good chance to see bears. Depends a little bit on the season, on the year. At the moment, the vegetation is so that there is a lot of food in the forest, so bears are coming a bit less to the feeding places. But in general, 80 to 90% chance to see a bear on the first evening.
Oh, okay.
But from a height, not if you just go yourself to nature.
Okay.
I see bears, I don't know, 3 or 4 times a year. It's just like that. I'm in the forest every day.
Yeah, because you are there because you have the advantage. Yet, are there any questions?
I see another question from Philip about the daily costs for a small group of people.
Mm-hmm.
I would estimate it's in euros here. Our currency here is the European currency, so we are paying in euros. It depends, of course, a little bit on your program, but something like 250 euro per person per day is a good estimation.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you, Paul. Why don't we have a group photo first? Okay, guys. So please turn your camera. Q1, please. Hey, hey, Lewin. Hey, Lars. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Good to see you, young man.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, Lewin.
Hello.
Hello, Elwin. Okay, we got Lewin and Elwin. Hello, Elwin.
Elwin is a little bit anonymous. It's okay.
Okay. So, let's take our first group photo. Guys, look at the camera and smile. 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much. Okay, let's go on with more questions.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Richard. How are you? Oh, wait. Who's speaking? Sorry.
Hello.
Kusum, are you speaking?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Paul, do you get any cat species in Slovenia?
We have 2 cat species, yes. We have Eurasian lynx and I think it's European wildcat. And it's not easy to see them. For lynx, I think it's virtually impossible. In all those years, I've seen them twice. European wildcat, I see, I don't know, lately once a month or so. It's increasing, but they're quite shy. And sometimes, you know, where a single individual is often hunting in the forest edge, and then you have a good chance for some weeks. But then the situation changes a bit. The meadow gets mown, or food is changing a bit, and then it disappears again to another part of his home range. So occasionally they're predictable for some time, but usually not.
Okay, thank you, Paul.
Yep. Mark, are you trying to say something, Mark?
Is it, how easy is it to kind of self-guide in Slovenia?
To self-guide in Slovenia, that depends which part of the country you go. If you go to the mountains, then the trails are very well marked. You have to, of course, pay attention to the weather forecast, like the mountains everywhere. And I would say that it's pretty easy. Also, there's a lot of tourism going on in the higher mountains. And the same is to cultural sites. You can go on your own. If you go here to the forest, just where I'm living, in the southern part of Slovenia, people will wonder what you're actually doing here. And you might get questions from hunters or from foresters, because there is no tourism in these forests. And many times the local hunters and foresters are also not very fluent in English. So you might have a tough time explaining what you're doing. Although in the end, it's not really a problem, I think.
Okay.
The main difference with self-guiding and guided tour is how big the chance is to see certain species that you would like to see. So yes, the country in itself is actually very safe. But I was once having a group of ladies from Japan who came here to watch flowers. And we were, of course, going to places which are absolutely not touristic. And I have to say that they did stand out a bit. And it was quite helpful that I could explain to the local people what we were doing on their land.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
How long have you been in Slovenia for?
I'm in Slovenia for almost 20 years now.
Right.
Yes.
Right. What do you like most?
What I like most, in the end, the possibility to just walk around the corner and be entirely alone in nature. because I grew up in the Netherlands, which is one of the most densely populated countries in Europe. And you can go to nature there, but you're never alone. And that is the part that I have here.
So it looks like you have a very different life from you were in Netherlands.
Yes. It's quite different, yes.
Right. Guys, do we have any more questions? Okay, if not, then we thank Paul for a short presentation, short but beautiful. Beautiful landscape with beautiful birds and everything's beautiful. Thank you, Paul, for the good presentation and very informative. Thank you, Paul.
Well, thank you for offering this opportunity, and I hope to meet you all in Korea.
Yes, yes, that's our promise, right? That's ABF online.
I don't know yet.
Yeah,
I don't know, but I hope.
We'll see. Yeah, you know, ABF online talk in June is full of diversity. We learned about Japan Bird Festival last week, and this week we have Paul sharing birding in Slovenia with us. And next week is going to be very special. We are going to Uganda for a very special conference. It's International Conference for Women Birders. And Herbert will be our guide. So guys, let's look forward to Herbert's introduction of the International Conference for Women Birders. That's really something. So, until next week, until next Friday, guys, please take care and have a nice weekend. Thank you very much, Paul, again, and we look forward to seeing everybody next Friday. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Paul.
Bye.